Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome to Wellbeing Warrior Monthly Live. I'm super excited that you've been able to join me today on this Christmas cracker special. So before I start, there are 2 downloads available to you in this special edition. And if you look on the right hand side of this particular live cast, you'll find those available. The first one is a Wellbeing Warrior festive food chart, which I'm going to talk through today. And there's also a Wellbeing Warrior one-page care planner, which will help you really set yourself up for success as we go into the festive period and beyond. And I'm really pleased that I'm able to deliver this live cast. So I'm not on the way to hospital just yet to have my baby. So I hope you enjoy the session today. So today is all about really focusing on how we can look after ourselves in the run-up to the festive period and beyond. And it's all about thinking in terms of our connections to ourselves and also to others. We know in the Christmas period can be really tenuous. Some relationships that we have, perhaps with family or friends or maybe even work colleagues, can get quite frayed. This can be due to us being quite stressed into the run-up to the Christmas period, or perhaps not really thinking about the different dynamics, the different ways people approach how they want to have Christmas, what outputs they want from Christmas, what outcomes they want to achieve, what things they really enjoy, what they really love, and that those differences between us can create a little bit of tension. So we're going to talk about that today. The next thing we're going to talk about is consumption. Now, we know over the Christmas period that they have the highest number of deaths typically on Christmas Day. And this is by people getting really stressed out, over consuming bad foods that really don't help our brain, not taking the time to really relax and recharge, and focusing on eating the foods or drinking the foods that are not going to help us, foods that are high in simple sugars that increase level of inflammation in our bodies and our brains, excessive alcohol consumption that disrupts our sleep patterns that perhaps have already been disrupted in the run-up to the festive period as we try and cram as much in as we possibly can before that holiday break. And I know certainly when I was working in the corporate world, that was typical. So many people were off work with sickness because they were trying to cram too much in to their workday and not taking the time to really focus on themselves. And obviously with all those Christmas parties that take place, we fill our bodies with pretty unpleasant stuff that our bodies are not happy to accommodate, and they certainly don't like it. So we're going to talk a little bit about consumption, and the free download that you've got is available to help you think about the festive foods that we typically have and try and think about it a little bit differently so that we're eating foods that love us back and not foods that don't. And then finally, we're going to talk about care, and this is caring for ourselves and setting yourself up for success as you go into the new year. We know we are classic at forgetting about everything to do with caring for ourselves as a person in the run-up to Christmas, and then just somehow magically think that a New Year's resolution is going to fix everything. But why don't we think about it in the run-up to the festive period, so we are already in that mindset of thinking about how we can have the best year in 2019 and what steps we need to take in the run-up to 2019 to make it our best year yet. So we're going to talk about that and use the one-page care planner, which is slight modification from the one-page goal planner in some of the previous sessions to really help you think about that in a slightly different way. So without further ado, let's dive into the first part of this session, which is all about connection. So there's 4 areas of connection. You could count 5, but 4 areas of connection I really want to talk about in this first part. And before I dive into those, I want you to think about the journey you're going to be going on between today and 2019, coming into the new year. So you might have a couple of milestones set up in the run up to the Christmas period. I know certainly for me, my milestone is having a baby. So that's definitely going to happen before Christmas, when we don't know, but that's a milestone. You may have certain milestones in terms of shopping for family and friends and putting those cards in the post, or if you don't celebrate Christmas, there may be other milestones that you set for yourself so you can get ready for the holiday period. Maybe some work parties that are happening, that are coming up. Have a think about those key steps, or meeting with family and friends. My brother, excitingly, is coming over from Australia this weekend, so I'm looking forward to that. Then you may have continued work or community engagements in the run-up to the holiday period. And if we think about this as our Christmas day, you may have lots of family or friends or visitors coming over. You may be going out into the community to enjoy some of the festivities, or you may simply just be going away on holiday to get away from it all. So what key milestones, key steps do you have in the run up to Christmas that's really going to connect you with other people, or connect you with yourself personally? Who is it that you're hoping to visit, or who is it that you're hoping to come and visit you? And the reason I ask this question is we frequently forget to get in other people's shoes. So as you're thinking about your journey in the run-up to the new year, have a think about who it is that you're really going to be connecting and engaging with. And try and get in their shoes and think about, as we talk through this connection session, what you think that person is looking, or persons hoping to get out of the time that they're going to spend with you. Not only just in terms of their goals, their ambitions, the outcomes they want to achieve from the connection with yourself, but also how they might want to see you as an individual when you're connecting with them, how they expect you to show up, or how you hope they will expect to see you. So with that in mind, let's talk about the first part of connection. And this is connecting with yourself. So when you think about these key milestones in the run-up to the festivities and beyond, how do you want to show up? What words would you use to describe how you want to feel for yourself, and how you want to feel when you are presenting yourself or connecting with others? What would those 3 words be? 1 for you personally, 3 words for yourself, how you want to show up, and 3 words for those that you're connecting with. And they could be quite different depending on the people that you are socializing with over the holiday season. So write those 3 words down. So for me personally, how I want to show up is I want to be very focused for myself on the task in hand, particularly when I'm giving birth, because that's going to happen whether I want it to happen or not. I want to be focused. I want to be calm, and I want to be collected. So focused, calm and collected. And I think based on all of the preparations that I've been doing in the run up to the festive period, I can definitely say that that is the case at the moment. I've not had any stresses. I've sought to minimise all the stresses that are going on. I've sought to try and get the things out the way that I need to. I've focused on what's most important to me. I've stayed calm and I've stayed collected in my thoughts. So what would those three words be for you? Secondly, when you're connecting with other people, what would your three words be there? So for me, obviously when I'm connecting with this little new person, this Christmas cracker that's coming into the world, I want to be a role model. And I want to be a role model for everybody that I connect with. So that's a key word for me, role modeling the way as I change my role to become a mum. Next thing I want to be is calm again. I think that's very important. And approachable. So I don't want to feel as if the shutters have come up just because I've changed my status in life. So it's really important that I am in the right frame of mind, that people feel they can talk to me and I've not become that insular person that is just kind of focused on their baby and nothing else. So I think that's really important for me. What are the three words that are important to you when you're connecting with other people? Make sure you write those down. And the reason this is really important is when we think about the words that we want to grow into, we are much more likely to show up as that person that we want to be, and much more likely to have a more productive and fruitful encounter with those that we're connecting with when we remind ourselves what those words are. So as I said, for me, I said they would be calm, collected, and focused for myself. And then to others, it would be calm, approachable, and a role model. And the one I know I will probably have to work the most on is approachable. And that's because I think there's going to be the unknowns in terms of me wanting to be quite protective in the run up to the festive period. I might get a bit ratty because I'm focused on, as I've got this focused here, I'm focused on the things that are most important to me, which would be looking after the baby. And I might not be that approachable person. So I'll probably really have to think about how I can exude that approachability when I'm connecting with others. The next thing to think about is when you are connecting with yourself, what values are really important to you? What are your core values? And I talk a lot about this in my Plan for Success course. And there's two aspects to ourselves, our values and beliefs, which are part of how we connect with ourselves as a person. I don't have time to go through that today, but think about the values that are most important to you in the run up to the festive period. So for me, is caring is really important, to be a giver and not just a taker, and to really be that sort of loving person, the person that people really feel connected with. So what are the values that are really important to you? And the reason I ask this question is the fundamental values that you carry through in life will show up. And if you know that there is somebody that is not going to meet those values, they're not got the same values or similar values to yourself, there may be some friction between you. So think about the values that are important to you. So as I said, it's caring, but also had loving and giving. So what are your values for the festive period? And when we go into the next section, think about these 3 words where they are going to be present when you're connecting with others, and where perhaps they're going to be absent in others, and that will help really identify some of those areas of conflict that may come to light and help us be prepared to do something about it, so we don't have these tensions over the festive period. So the next thing is your family. So who is it, excuse me, who is it that you're connecting with in your family over the festive period? So make sure you have a think about writing them down. So I think we're going to have a barrage of family members as soon as this baby arrives. So think about your family, your in-laws, your existing family, your extended family. Who is it that's going to be in touch with you over the festive period? Make that list, and hopefully if you've started sending out your Christmas cards or whatever, you already have that list in place. The next question to ask yourself, once you've got that list, who is it that causes the most tension? What's their persona? Who is problematic? Who is the one that's really going to cause some friction based on how you want to show up for yourself? So mark those people down that are most likely to be problematic. And then the question is, why are they going to be problematic? What is it that is likely to flick your switch, so to speak? If you've identified what it is that may tip you over the edge, have a think about how you can approach those conversations, those difficult conversations, or how you can perhaps avoid having those conversations that will cause people to get agitated. And this may be simply not just thinking about what you're saying, but also what you're doing and what you are consuming. As I mentioned earlier, we were talking about those parties that are going to be had. If you consume too much alcohol, if you consume too much sugary food, or food that sits really heavy on your stomach, too much simple carbohydrates, are you going to be able to stay that calm, collected, focused individual? Or with too much food consumption, are you going to start getting brain fog? Are you going to be approachable, or are you going to start being ratty? So don't just think about the person that you are engaging with, who may be that little bit more difficult to deal with, but how you are going to prepare yourself when engaging with those people. We'll talk a lot about consumption in part 2. Next is on your family. Is if you have not met your family very much and you know that you need some personal space, and this is particularly relevant for people that may be suffering from some particular brain struggles like ADHD, or they may have stress or anxiety or depression, what boundaries are you going to set and make people aware of, so that you can really allow yourself that time to check out of maybe the noise? ADHD people don't like too many things going on. They can get easy. I know I suffer a little bit from ADHD, so they can easily get distracted, easily get overwhelmed with too much noise, too much fuss, too many people, and they might need to take some time out to check out of the very busy, very noisy family environment. So how are you going to create the calm space that perhaps you might need, and when will you need it in order to be able to have that positive experience with your family members over the festive period and beyond? Next, thinking about your friends. Who is it that you really want to connect with over the Christmas period? We have 3 different types of people that we can connect with growth friends or growth connections who are really going to help you excel into the next level or the next performance level of your life and help you grow into the person you want to become. Then have your maintenance friends who are there. You may contact infrequently, perhaps once a year over the festive period, who don't really play a particularly important role in your life, but you like to stay in contact with them. And finally, you may have those friends that show up and tell you everything that you don't want to hear, everything that you shouldn't be doing. And I call these our bugs, the friends that really kind of drag you down rather than lift you up, the ones that you really want to avoid. So when you think about your friends, who is it that's most important that you connect with over the festive period? And are you allocating the right amount of energy and the right amount of time to connect with those that are most important to you? Have you got a clear list as to who those friends are and what type of friends they are, and hence how you're going to effectively engage and give the energy that's necessary to connect with those that are most important to you? And the second question is, when you think about your friends and who you're engaging with, how do you really want to engage with them? So if you've got friends who are bugs, always kind of show up and tell you things you don't want to hear, perhaps the engagement, if you feel like as if you have to engage with them, needs to be by letter, by Christmas card. Whereas those friends are the most important to you, that you really want to spend some time with, you pick the telephone up, you'd arrange to go for a meeting. So have a think about the friends that you have in your life that you want to connect with over the festive period. And we go back again to how we want to show up. So are you able, with the friends that you've got in your list, to show up as the words that you've described in terms of how you want to connect with others? Calmly, you want to be approachable and a role model. Is that possible for you to do with your friend list? And if it isn't, what do you need to change personally to make it a positive experience? What outcomes do you want to have from that engagement? And what can you think about in terms of what might trip you up when you engage with people perhaps you've not engaged with for a long period of time? Oh, got hiccups. And then finally, this is an area that we really pick up, many people pick up over the festive period, as they're much more engaged in community activities, in celebrations, in bell ringing, in supporting the local church or supporting the local facilities to help them get ready for the festive period, to help them generate more revenue. And the question is, how are you going to connect with that community? Have you got those meetings already clearly set up? Do you know what those meetings are? Do you know what is going to be happening at those meetings? What the role is for yourself, what the expectations are? And how is it that you are going to show up at those meetings so that you can have the most positive festive experience possible? Are you clear what outcome you want to achieve from those sessions? And the final thing is, on all of these, is what impression do you want people to leave with? How do you want people to feel after they've connected with you, after they've said their goodbyes? How do you want them to leave? What outcome do you want to achieve from a feeling perspective? If you can think about that for each type of connection you have over the festive period, what outcome you want to have from that particular session, not in terms of outputs, but in terms of feelings, then you'll be able to generate the feelings in the environment that you're connecting with much more readily if you've thought about what the outcome is that you want to generate from a feeling perspective. And you can do that in all of these different areas. The final one, which you can roll up into your community, also includes your colleagues. And this is particularly relevant if you're at work, and particularly important when you contextualize it in the terms of work Christmas parties or community Christmas parties, and making sure that you leave those parties with the right impression set when you were there. I've been to many parties where alcohol consumption has resulted in people behaving very either inappropriately or just completely losing control of their own mindsets and ability to talk coherently. And that set a really bad impression when they've left the party. And I'm almost certainly guilty of that in the past, is drinking too much to excess and then not leaving the impression that I should have left in that particular party. So have a think about it from your perspective, how you want people to see you. And as I've said here, I've got my role model words that I want to use when I'm connecting with others. So I want people to be inspired by me. I want people to want to connect with me and see me as a person that they can trust, admire, and get benefit from. So that's all about connection. I hope you found that very helpful. As I said, think about yourself, the words that you want to use to describe yourself in the run up to the festive period, and making sure that you're focused on being that person that you want to be for you, and then being the person that you want others to see you as, and then how you're going to connect and who you're going to connect with in terms of your family, your friends, your community and work colleagues, and how you want to show up, and understanding, thinking about in advance of some of those meetings where the tensions may be, how you're going to handle it, and how you're going to set the boundaries to make sure that you are that person that you want to show up as, and you leave those people with the feelings that you want them to leave with. So now it's all about consumption. Oh my goodness, do we consume a lot of calories in the run up to the festive period? Do we do our bodies a tremendous amount of harm? Absolutely. Are we eating the right things? Are we drinking the right things that it's really going to set ourselves up for success as we roll into the new year? Probably not. If you're one of these people that typically puts on weight over the festive period, then it's really time to tune in and think about, as we go through this session, what tweaks, it doesn't have to be a big thing, what changes you can make to really eat more healthy and drink healthier things over the festive period, to make sure that you're not increasing the inflammation in your body, not increasing the inflammation in your brain, to make sure that you're feeding your brain good food that it likes to have, that it's going to welcome and be responsive to, so that you can be that person that you want to be and not be the ratty person, so that you can protect your health. Make sure that you don't, as I used to do, which I haven't done for a very long time now, that you don't crash and burn and get an infection or get the flu or get run down over the festive period because you are not eating or drinking the right things. You're not really taking care of yourself properly. So first of all, make sure you grab, this is here, which is the festive food chart. There's two sides to the food chart. The first one is what things you should shop for if you're thinking about foods over the festive period, and what you should swap. And I'm going to talk about that first. Then there's a whole list of brain superfoods that you can look at, and I've slimmed it down to the foods that we're most likely to consume over the festive period, in terms of nuts and seeds, fruits, vegetables, And these are the superfoods specifically, which have come from Memory Rescue, book by Dr. Daniel Amen. Oils that are really good for you, poultry and fish, herbs and spices. And then finally, at the bottom, there is a mulled win, not a mulled wine, a mulled win recipe from myself that has been modified from a very delicious mulled wine recipe. And it's called mulled win because there's no wine in it. And it's got really healthy stuff in it that, apart some of the super foods that are in here, really nice to consume. Tested the recipe out this evening, tastes lovely. So if you really want to help yourself, there is one recipe of many that you can have in terms of improving your consumption. And a great book that I would recommend is the Brain Warriors Way cookbook by Tana Amen and Dr. Daniel Amen, which is available for purchase on Amazon. And they've got loads of great information in there about superfoods, how you can swap certain foods for ones that are much healthier for you, and really look at not missing out on stuff, but just focusing on changing what you consume. So you still enjoy the things that you love, but with slightly different ingredients. So the first thing is, if we look at food, so food for thought. Our foods these days are full of things like pesticides, toxins, antibiotics that have made it through the food chain from animals to ourselves. And in fact, the lead health advisor in the UK very recently published some information on the importance of us not just focusing on how we manage our medicine supplementation in terms of the antibiotics that we take to help ourselves combat infection if we get run down, but specifically the risk of the antibiotics that are making it into our systems from the food chain, and how that can specifically affect the effectiveness of antibiotics for the future. And it's a real issue, and it's not being tackled perhaps as fervently or as rigorously as it should be. And it's up to us as consumers to really help drive that change. So what you can do from a UK perspective is look for this particular label. It looks like a tractor with an F on it and two blue circles to make it look like a tractor, and it's assured food standards. If you buy meat that has that label on it in the UK, then it shouldn't have any antibiotics that have made it into the food chain that could affect you. Other things, if you can't find that label, is to look for organic corn-fed produce, and to look for wild caught fish, which is much healthier for you than obviously farmed fish, to make sure that you're not introducing toxins into your body that's going to affect your health over the long term, affect the effectiveness of critical drugs that you may need later on in life, and they no longer work because the antibiotics or the bacteria have become resistant to the antibiotics. So there's two things we need to focus on here. The first is what we need to shop for, and that's organic and corn-fed, pesticide-free, and you can see from the free download what it says you can shop for in terms of foods that are safe to buy, that are inorganic because they don't contain pesticide residues. That's at the top of the the festive food chart and the foods that you should swap and buy organic, and particularly things like blueberries really suck up the pesticides that they're sprayed with. So make sure you focus on moving to organic produce so you're not introducing those toxins into your system. Other things that you can do in terms of shopping. So you can shop for, if we talk for a shop and swap. Oh, I should have put swap there, sorry. Just noticed that. Swap. So we can swap in terms of oils. So typically in the festive period, people use goose fat to cook potatoes or to cook the chicken or turkey. Is swap anything that's got goose fat in it for walnut oil or grapeseed oil, which are much, much healthier for you. To swap your sweets. Oh my goodness, there's so much sweet consumption. To swap sweets, massive high sugar rush, really bad for blood pressure, really bad for your brain, increases inflammation. So swap your sweets for fruit. And if you really need that sugar rush, or if you really need the chocolate that you so desire over the festive period, then why not melt some lovely dark chocolate and dip some really healthy fruit in it, so you get the chocolate hit plus the fruit hit as well. So maybe dip oranges in with some dark chocolate, 70% cocoa, no sugar contained in it. Make a really lovely treat. The sweetness of the orange and the sharpness and the flavour of the chocolate really combine well. Just think you're eating a Terry's chocolate orange or something. Other things that you can do, so dairy can really play havoc on some people's systems, and it's not good for your brain either, is you can swap dairy with almond milk or with coconut milk and focus on replacing anything that you would typically use from a dairy perspective with those two products to help reduce any inflammation, any gut inflammation. White starches. So here we've got white breads. Think about shifting to wholemeal flour, to wholemeal pasta, to wholemeal rice. Much, much healthier for you. So white starches rapidly convert into sugar. They'll give you that big high and then you'll crash down low because you have too much of sugar going into your system. So look at buying wholemeal instead. And there's honestly, we've switched to wholemeal rice. It takes longer to cook, as does the pasta, but I can't personally tell any difference between the two. So just because it looks a different colour doesn't mean it tastes massively different. So think about what you can do over the festive period in terms of moving away from those really easy carbohydrates that can really play havoc on our brain health to the much more complex ones that have a slow release of energy over the long term, and you won't get those highs and lows and those negative crotchety feeling that you often get when you're blasting your body with sugar and then you crash. So we've got dairy to almond or coconut. White starches to brown. So white potatoes. Just call it white potatoes. Again, very high glycemic index, so very easily converted from starch to sugar. So I'll give you a very quick hit. I personally try and avoid white potatoes now as much as possible, just because of my brain type. It's much better for me to have a slow release of energy into my system, because I don't have a very big high and then a very big low that affects my focus, affects my concentration, if we think back to what we were talking about earlier. So you can switch to other root vegetables. So what I do is I love to eat a lot more carrots. So if I'm going to roast potatoes, then we'll have maybe one potato or two, not much more than that. Much rather eat roast parsnips, roast carrots, roast swede, something that's different to potatoes, including sweet potatoes, which are much better for you. Then we've got sausages. So sausages are processed meats. Can you just do without sausages in totality over the festive period? Be much healthier for you. If you are going to look for sausages, then obviously look for the label to make sure that they are the meat is processed in a way that's going to be healthy for you, doesn't contain any toxins. And secondly, if you are going to have sausages, can you do anything homemade? And if you're happy to go without, then what would be your replacement? Do you need indeed a replacement? Other things like bacon is just to, if we think about pocket fillers, I've forgotten what they're called. I've forgotten what they're called. Brussels sprouts. Brussels sprouts, super healthy for you. But frequently we add bacon, which is really salty, which is really bad for you if you've got high blood pressure. So look for bacon that has not been cured, so it's low salt content, or swap the bacon for chestnuts so that you have chestnuts in with your Brussels sprouts instead of bacon. Finally, chocolate. So we want 70% cocoa. So you can have one square of chocolate. It's really good for you if you've got 70% cocoa. It's actually an antioxidant and it's also considered to be an aphrodisiac by some people. Think about swapping those highly charged with sugar chocolates, and I know it's really difficult. Chocolate's a bit like my nemesis. Is one of the things that we've done this year is put chocolates in little boxes on the Christmas tree, which A, means that you can replenish them, but B, it stops you from eating too much because you have to obviously take the chocolate out of the box in order to eat it, which is much harder than just getting a chocolate straight off the tree. Plus, you obviously would have to replan it, so it's additional effort. So think about if you're swapping stuff or you're shopping for stuff, how can you create the barriers to make it harder for you to consume the foods that are going to do you harm? So can you literally just avoid going to the shops and not buying those boxes of mince pies, another nemesis of mine, and order online? That makes it harder because you're not used to ordering online. So just then you're only ordering the things that you actually need. Think about not buying a massive box of chocolates, but focusing on how can you make the chocolate still available as a treat, but not to the point that you're just going to consume 10 when you really only meant to consume 1. So that's the thing on food. Beverages. So here in terms of shop and swap. So shop for, think about low alcohol content beverages. So if you do want alcohol, which I would advise against, then look at ways in which you can reduce the alcohol consumption when you actually have the drink. So great thing to do is spritzers to really dilute your alcohol consumption and add lots of water, making sure that you're having enough water to hydrate yourself, limiting the number of drinks that you're actually going to consume in a day, reducing the glass size that you actually have to drink out of, and that can actually work against you. So think about how you can manage your consumption. Low alcohol, I've put twice Walla Walla in there, I mean low sugar. So, and avoid sucrose. So any synthetic sugars definitely considered as a toxin for the brain, and the foods, beverages now are full of sucrose, sucralose, all sorts of different replacement sugars, which are really not good for us. So if you look at the recipe that's the back for the mulled win, then you need to buy grape juice that doesn't contain any sugar. It's pure grape juice, and ideally organic, because we know that grapes soak up loads of toxins, so it's good to get organic grape juice. So shop and then swap. What can we swap? So if you typically love to consume alcohol, then look at how you can swap the normal alcohol consumption into non-alcoholic. So they've got non-alcoholic gins now. If you love to drink gin, look at the non-alcoholic gins that are out there on the high street now and see if that will suit you. Swap sweet drinks for fruit juices diluted. I typically do this now, is rather than having a sweet fizzy drink, you can get maybe a pureed fruit juice, a pureed juice, and use that as you would typically use for a squash, and then add either fizzy water or still water to make it up into a juice drink. You still get the sweetness. Obviously there's still quite a lot of sugar in fruit juice, but it's massively diluted, and you're certainly not going to be filling your body with the toxins associated with sucrose and so on. Other things you can do is, from a alcohol perspective, is think about not consuming alcohol until a certain period of time in the day. So put a ban on yourself as to when you're going to have your first drink, and limiting the amount of alcohol you have in that day to make sure that you're not filling your brain up with stuff that's really, actually, alcohol reduces blood flow to the brain. So if you want clarity of thought, then alcohol is not the beverage for you. If you want to have a lovely Christmas and no hangover, alcohol isn't the beverage for you. If you want to have great relationships with your family and friends and not get into a ratty state, not lose your inhibitions, not lose the logical function that is part of your prefrontal cortex, alcohol is not the drink for you, because it lowers all of that. It's really not a good thing. So think about how you can swap beverages that will be much more healthy for you over the festive period and beyond. Herbs and spices. In the list, there's loads of things of herbs and spices that are really helpful to you over the festive period. So saffron. This has been found to be a really effective antidepressant, especially for people suffering from severe depression. From a scientific study, in fact, it's found to be as effective as taking the antidepressant drugs. So if you are likely to suffer from depression over the festive period, or you're suffering from it at the moment, consider how you can get saffron into your diet to help boost your serotonin. Depression is typically a result of low serotonin. Another thing that you obviously can do out with herbs and spices is increase exercise. So these are the three: rosemary, which we love to have in the festive period, cinnamon, and thyme. These all boost your memory, so these are great products to help you boost your memory. So make sure that you incorporate some of those either as a marinade on your turkey or your chicken, or a sprinkled fresh rosemary or fresh thyme sprinkled over your vegetables to get those benefits from those herbs to really help boost your memory. Other one we've got is garlic, which helps boost blood flow to your brain. It's also considered as a great disinfectant. So think about garlic and how you can incorporate that. Ginger, plus cayenne pepper, plus black pepper. They are all known to boost your metabolism and act as an aphrodisiac. So think about how you can incorporate those into your cooking over the festive period. Obviously, also bearing in mind to not fill yourself up with loads of junk food at the same time. And then finally, healthy recipes. So as I said in the handout, there is a free recipe of Ruth's non-alcoholic mulled wine, as I call it, mulled wine, to not make it a mulled wine. And in here you've got grape juice with no sugars other than its own sugar. You've got pomegranate juice, which gives it that, takes the edge off the sugary flavour of the grape juice. And it's a great antioxidant. It's a super food, pomegranate juice. You've got cloves. You've got cinnamon, which we talked about up there, which boosts your memory. Lemons and oranges, a great source of vitamin C. What is not to love about making some mulled wine? And obviously, when you do make it, follow the recipe instructions. Don't leave the lemons or the oranges in for too long, certainly not the lemons once you've made it, because it will start to make it taste quite bitter. So once you've made it, serve it up nice and warm, and hopefully your guests will enjoy it. Definitely not something I would recommend drinking a lot of, because it's quite a strong flavour, much the same as mulled wine. And maybe have it with some nice foods, maybe some chocolate, maybe some fruit, maybe mince pies if you're up for mince pies. That's typically, isn't it, what we would have, although that's not especially healthy food. But hopefully you will be able to enjoy that. So it's all about consumption. So think about, in the run up to the festive period, how can you eat more healthily? Look for the Assured Food Standards label. What can you shop for that perhaps you don't typically shop for? What can you swap in terms of your food consumption? Similarly for beverages, what are you going to focus on shopping for that is much healthier for you, and what can you swap? Herbs and spices, how can you incorporate some of those super food herbs and spices into your Christmas cooking, your festive cooking over the festive period? And look at healthy recipes. There's tons out there on the internet. As I said, there's the Brain Warriors Way cookbook, and there's also in there some recipes for Thanksgiving, which obviously also covers Christmas period as well. And think about how you can use some of the swaps, perhaps in existing recipes you already have. How can you swap those foods around to have a really healthy meal and avoid some of these white starches, white potatoes, high sugar content chocolates? So I hope you found that really helpful. Now we're going to move on to caring for ourselves in the run up to the festive period and beyond. And this is all about thinking about you first and foremost. Because if we don't care about ourselves, how can we possibly effectively care for others if we're not looking after ourselves first and foremost? So make sure in this section that you get hold of the one-page care planner. And this is really about thinking, what do you want in life? How do you want to show up next year? How do you want to show up over the festive period? What outcomes do you want to achieve in life across all aspects of your life? And thinking about, are my behaviours going to allow me to achieve those outcomes that I want in life? And if the answer is no, then what do you need to do to change those behaviours so that you can still achieve those goals and dreams? So when you get this worksheet, as we go through this now, I want you to really think about how you want to show up, what you want for your life. And at the top of this, I want to think about your why. So for me, why is it important? Because I want to be that role model for my children. I want to be that person that inspires others. I want to be that person that is able to help others unlock and harness their full potential so that they can achieve their goals and dreams. I want to be an effective mother and wife and daughter and sister. I want to be that person that people can rely on, that people can lean on, that people can look to. What is your why? Why is it important to you? Why is it important that you set these goals for yourself? Perhaps if you're a grandparent, it's important that you are the role model for your grandchildren, that you are around for them long enough to see their children grow up or their children be born. What is it that's most important to you? So this is broken down into 3 areas. The first one is all about yourself. So this is about caring for you. And think about back to the first part of this session is about how you want to show up. So what do you want to have in terms of your body? How do you want your body to be? So I want personally to have a body that I can be proud of. So I'm going to write these down. So I'm just going to put some key words. So I want a body I can be proud of, that is healthy. I'm going to put in here role model, mum, sister, daughter, wife, effective. All of those things. I want to be an inspiration. And I want to be able to help others. So for me, it's really important that I do the things that allow me to have a body that I'm happy with, and I'm happy with this bump, and I'm healthy. So I'm not doing the things, I'm not consuming the things that are really going to affect either of these 2 aspects of my personal self. So I want to have a mind that is clear, happy, focused, and with a strong memory. And all of these aspects of my mind require me to really think about what I'm consuming in terms of the food and drink that I have, how I'm going to protect my memory for the future in terms of what I consume, what I do, what activities I take part in, how I look after my skull. And so again, it goes back to the question of, if I really care about all of those things, am I doing what is necessary to make sure I can achieve those? So what is it for you? So I want to do the things I love from a hobby perspective. And I love to do a lot of outdoor sports. So in order to be able to do the things I love, I need to look after myself. I need to exercise regularly. So what are the things that you really love? So for me, it's climbing, skiing, mountaineering. Those are the three main things for me. And the question is, what supplements do you need to take? What activities do you need to do to make sure that you can really care for yourself? If you really care for yourself, you'll do the things that are necessary to look after yourself. And the fourth one is spirit. And this for me is to connect with my values and beliefs. And that could be different for you. So what is it that, from a spiritual perspective, is important to you? So it's important to me that I am congruent with who I am as a person, my core values, that I'm not working in an environment that is going to upset that congruency that is necessary for me. And it's important to have understood what those values and beliefs are for yourself. So I love connecting with the mountains because they're much bigger than us. They're much more powerful than us. I was brought up a Catholic, is thinking about a power that goes beyond ourselves. And by having that connection with something that's so much greater, I feel really grounded. It really kind of puts things in perspective. So what is that for you, spirit-wise? Next is your connections. So we'll go through these. So family, friends, and community. So in terms of my family, is a loving relationship. Trust. And I want them to be proud. So are the activities, the actions that you're doing, what is it that you want from your connections in your life? What is it you really care about? And are you doing the things necessary to reflect that in your day-to-day life? So for my friends is to be kind and compassionate. Supportive. And to connect with those that have similar goals and dreams. What is it for yourself? What do you want to have for your life in terms of who you connect with? And have you got those people already in your circle? Or do you need to grow your circle in order to achieve what you want? And then finally, in terms of the community, is I want to help others overcome struggle. And I also want to inspire. What is it for yourself? What do you want for your life in terms of connection with your community? It could be quite different. Excuse me. Finally, workplace. So there's 3 areas here. What activities are important in your workplace? What is it important for you to do? What's important? What do you want in terms of connection to your colleagues? And what do you want in terms of your financial goals, both your short term and your long term? So for me, is to focus on what I enjoy. And to learn what is necessary, so is required to grow. So I'm not afraid to start new things. And I know it's going to be hard, but it's important to me because it's important that I can do all of these things. That's my why. So it's important that I accept that some aspects of learning are going to be a struggle, and that I allow that. I allow the struggle and I accept the struggle. And in terms of my colleagues, is to connect non-judgmentally. So to be really open-minded when I'm connecting with others, because everybody is unique. We all have something special to bring to a conversation, some special insight that others perhaps have not experienced. And it's to not judge people, to not compare myself to others, to be the person that I want to be, and to accept those that come into my life from a colleague or a client perspective, and really look at them as the person that they are, and not to judge them to be something else. And then finally, financially, is to obviously have a stable income. Both short and long term, that will allow me to do all the things that I love and to connect with all the people that are most important to me. So what is it for you? What do you want in your life? Do make sure that you take the time to really fill this out, and perhaps if you want to do it with your partner, so you can create that 1-page planner for yourself. And you can really go back to it and reflect on it and think, is what I'm doing today helping me care for myself? Am I really showing that I'm caring about my future? Am I really showing that I'm caring about who I'm connecting with? I'm caring about what's important to me from a workplace or community perspective, short, medium, long term. And I'm doing what is necessary to help me achieve my goals and dreams that I've written down here in a text format. So do take the time to think about it. It's a very powerful tool to have this on a page, because you can easily go back, put it in your kitchen maybe, so you can easily go back and reflect on it and think about, if I reach for that mince pie, is my body, am I going to be proud of my body? Am I going to be healthy? What can I do differently to achieve those goals that I've set for myself in terms of caring for myself in the run up to the festive period and beyond, so that you can really set yourself up for success in 2019 and really have the coolest, the most successful 2019 ever, the most successful year ever. So focus, caring starts with yourself. If you don't care about yourself, how can you care about others effectively? Caring about who you're connecting with and how, and caring about your workplace, your pursuits that really help you achieve your goals and dreams. Understanding why, what your big why is. Why is it so important to you? So if we go back to the beginning. So we talked all about connection to ourselves, our values, our beliefs, and how we want to show up, feelings that we want to have for ourselves personally, and the feelings we want to show to others, and our connection to others, and making sure that we set ourselves up for success as we go into the festive period, so that we're aware of where those troublesome spots may be, and we are prepared and ready to do something about it, set those boundaries, and set that mindset, that framework that is necessary to make sure we're positively connecting with other people. Next, consumption, looking at how we can shop more effectively for healthy foods, what we can swap so that we're not eating complete rubbish, and that we're really setting our brains up for success so that we can show up and be that person that we want to be when we're connecting with people. And finally, looking at how we care for ourselves, looking at a planner, a one-page goal planner that's really focused on what we want in life, and are we really focused on caring about who we are as a person, how we show up for our mind, body and soul, our spirit, how we connect with other people, and what we're doing in terms of pursuits, so that we're set up for success into the festive period and beyond, so we can have a super duper successful 2019. I hope you loved this crazy Christmas cracker special, and that this will really help you set yourself up for the festive period and beyond. Do make sure you take the time to look at those downloads that are available to you, so you can really focus on what is most important to you from a connection, consumption and care perspective. I'm now going to go over to my phone to see if there are any comments that have come in. If you've got any questions, please make sure you post them now. I'll take some time now to look and see what is in the comments section. So nothing at present. So think about the festive, run up to the festive period. Think about how you want to show up, how you want to connect. Think about what you're consuming, and is this really helping you? Are you feeding your brain with food that loves you back, with beverages that love you back? And are you focusing on caring for yourself so that you are really setting yourself up for success, focusing on the things that are necessary so that you can achieve your goals and dreams and fulfill your why in life? So I'll just have a refresh now, and if I don't get any questions, no comments that have come in. So that's it for me for the Wellbeing Warrior Monthly and the Christmas Cracker Special. Wish you a very happy festive break, whether you're celebrating Christmas or not. Look after yourself, take care of yourself, enjoy your time with your family, your friends and your loved ones. I look forward to talking to you in the new year.